You go into a field, shoot a cow. Its mates will go, "Oh, what's happening?"
To be fair, I can imagine you doing the same thing. AI in the classroom is a tool, not the main thing.
I think it's more than just a tool. I think it's truly transformative. What people want, I don't think will matter in the long term, because the fact is there's money in it.
Just like every tech invention that's ever been has been used to abuse power.
This idea of an identity will become something we have to grapple with more and more.
Am I going to be scared about this?
The Education Lounge podcast.
Okay, so we've decided that today's topic is going to be about AI, and we have done an episode before with Georgia last year on the topic of AI. So why are we doing this again?
Well, the rate of change in AI is so quick that I think it warrants a revisiting every, maybe not a couple of months, but maybe 6 months to a year.
Because it's like exponential.
Yeah, it will. Yeah. We're on that curve right now, and it will become more and more important as we move through.
So, but today we're going to speak specifically about AI within like the classroom.
Now, recently we saw an article about David Game College, which is a private college. I think it's like A levels, that sort of thing. And it's obviously a private institution, and they brought in a mixed reality classroom. So essentially, they're using AI to personalize students' experiences and sort of give them a better educational experience. I don't know much about like how this will work, and obviously they'll keep that
so
closed.
So is it an AI that's doing the actual teaching?
So I think they're using VR headsets, and so there is an AI sort of teaching them and taking them through different topics and that kind of thing.
But is it fully just that, or is there like a teacher there as well?
I imagine there's someone that they can collaborate with who's human. But
would that be like a technician, or would it be an actual teacher?
It might be. I don't know. Like I'm not too sure, but I guess it's at the moment a mixture.
Right.
But I'm not 100% sure. I think it's pretty. I'd say like 90% they're taught by this AI and VR.
Okay, that's more than it's more than I thought it'd be.
They're paying $27,000 a year. It is a private college, so they are sort of paying for that.
Right.
I actually had I know someone who actually went to that college to do maths, I think, and do her A levels there. So yeah, I know of the place, but this is the first time it's ever been implemented. So AI in the classroom, and students actually paying to take that course. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I suppose they're paying $27,000. They're going to have a unique experience at first.
Yeah, I guess it's like a first trial sort of thing.
Kind of exciting to begin with, and then they'll see in a year whether it actually pays off and see what the students' learning experience will be like. So at the moment, there are problems in our education system, but other systems too. It's not just the education; it's also healthcare, things like that. And the idea, I think, between with AI is that it can maybe cut costs in a lot of these areas if you're able to, because it's scalable.
Right.
And if you're able to scale these systems, you can make it easier for teachers. That's the first thing. Potentially replace teachers in some cases.
Yes, this is why I think, I mean, at the moment at least, that AI and tech in general is still a tool.
Yeah.
It's still a tool. And it can help make the lives of these people easier.
Yeah.
I don't think they're ready to replace the people themselves.
So I remember talking to Juba on his trip to Dubai. Podcast available
somewhere up there.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Obviously, very experienced in teaching, and he was talking about how he's using AI more and more.
Yeah.
And in his so
Like planning and stuff.
yeah, planning, setting comprehensions. Like even I'm using it more
Me
and more
too.
and more and more all the time, and I can see it's very transformative in that sense, and it is reducing workload.
It's reducing workload. It's kind of reducing thought to an extent.
Yeah, that's something I'm a little worried about because I can tell
Yeah.
that sometimes I'm a little lazy with.
Yeah, the example I always go back to is when I first started driving, I could drive across the country with a map, maybe not even a map. I'd find where I need to go. Road signs, whatever. The old A to Zs.
Yeah,
Or you'd look at it beforehand online and then you'd...
yeah, and you
Okay.
could remember the whole route and
I know.
all that. Like, it was
I
insane.
drove from, like London to Devon without
Yeah,
whatever. And, Google Maps, all Apple Maps, whatever you use. I now find myself using it for like the shortest journeys. So like if you it's not so much the technology, it's more the human element. Like we will take the path of least resistance. That's human nature.
we're intrinsically lazy.
We are, yeah. So if you extrapolate that example to, and that's just maps, right? Extrapolate that to something as huge as AI.
Thought generally.
That I can see that being a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, with the maps thing, it feels more like a tool, but in AI's case, it seems to be. I think it's more than just a tool. I think it's truly transformative where it can go. We're trying to replace the human element with something artificial, and that is because intelligence itself is. I mean, I can't think of one thing that humans do better than any other animal. We're terrible at most things, like compared to most animals.
Yeah,
but
endurance and intellect, they're the two.
Yeah, well, we're bipedal and we can run for a long period of time.
Yeah,
so we can catch game which is quicker than us, like after a long period of time.
So,
but
this is a bit of a side note. I was having a conversation with my personal trainer on Monday, and we were talking about this, not AI, but we were talking about the endurance aspect of humans. He said, like, I think they were maybe on Joe Rogan or something. Anyway, he was talking about this tribe of people in Africa that don't use spears or whatever else. They hunt their like animal, whatever animal it is, over like 100 miles, 500 miles, whatever it is. They just chase it. And it is faster to begin with, but eventually it gets tired.
Yeah.
And it gives up after however many hours and it dies.
I'm trying to think of a tribe.
And then they that's their food.
The Maasai, is that what you're talking? Is it Kenyan? Kenyan tribe.
It might be.
Maasai.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, like it's endurance and intellect.
Yeah, and
they're the two things.
What is it? Did you know that women they're generally slower than men over short distances, but if you take it to the ultra marathon level, women start to like it's a ridiculous number of miles. It's like 400,000 or
what?
Or 400 miles or
400 miles.
Yeah, not 400,000. Like 400 miles or something. Then women can actually have more endurance over that period. So like obviously men are like much quicker over short distances.
Well, if you think back, it's to do with hunting, isn't it?
Yeah, but like why?
Because you have to sprint to chase down.
But then why do women have that much endurance over that? Maybe it's pain tolerance. Because it could be to do with like the pregnancy thing. So the fact that they go through childbirth and thus they've got a higher pain tolerance. But I don't know.
Yeah.
That's off the point. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the human aspect. The AI in the classroom is a tool, not the main thing. So things like personalised reports or adaptive learning platforms, administrative tasks, like we spoke about, those are the things it can replace to aid the human that's involved in this process.
Have you seen some of the things that are doing in China with this?
No, am I going to be scared about this? Go on.
So they are so obviously there's a lot of surveillance in China anyway.
Yeah.
Like they do have
Yeah,
cameras
yeah.
in classrooms, and they're utilizing AI to
Facial
check.
recognition.
Well, that amongst other things, they can. It's a lot more complicated. They can tell like how much concentration a student has on. In
Oh,
class
no, I
and
have
that.
heard that. Yeah.
So I can see it sort of. I can see how far this can go because we like to.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the way to do it. I think that's
But potentially,
very like totalitarian.
it sounds. Well, yeah, like the.
You think about
whole-
some of the kids in our school who are falling asleep in the lessons. It's like-
that one's got zero concentration. Yeah. No, I sort of see that it's like useful if if someone appears to be paying attention, but to the teacher, but
there's nothing in the eyes.
yeah, no, as in
Yeah.
children have that, like they have
They zone out,
yeah,
essentially.
exactly, and especially if they've got something like if they've got ADHD or sometimes what's it called? They suffer micro seizures. So they're like mini seizures, and you can't necessarily tell that they're actually having a seizure,
Right.
but they can actually be having a seizure, and it's not clear. So I can see it being helpful in that regard.
Yeah, in a health
But-
aspect, yeah.
Yeah, but I can see it being abused completely.
Which it will be. Just like every tech invention
As-
that's ever been has been used to abuse power, get data, all that sort of stuff.
And then we've got
We've got Google Classroom as well. That's been around for a while.
well, I suppose like,
Duolingo as well. That's been around for quite a while.
you've got obviously the ability with AI to process a huge amount of data that a teacher couldn't possibly process because there's just too much information. There's too much going on. And that's often what teachers are talking about or complaining about. So Juba's like, how can I manage my 35 children or whatever in my class? Because I don't know. As in, like, I don't have the assistance. And then you've got the possibility of an AI assistant being able to take in ridiculous amounts of data, process that, pass that information to the teacher, and then improve learning. So it's not all necessarily insidious, but
No.
it could be.
But it can be used that way.
Yeah, because
That's
as soon as you create that data and stuff like that, then you can create a model teacher. Then you can, replace
Yeah.
teaching.
I have seen, because obviously we make like educational videos where we like sit here and we go through some verbal reasoning, some maths, whatever we do, and with us delivering to the camera. So I've seen different programs now where there's an AI that does it for you,
Yeah, and it'll probably do it better than us because it would.
and it's you can tell it's an AI, but only just about. Like if I was to give it to like my nan, she'd probably think it was real. Like
But-
it's that level of.
Well, you've seen like those deep fakes, which is probably the worst thing.
That is the worst.
Like, as in,
The Will Smith one is where it started.
well, you
with the
can
spaghetti
imagine.
or whatever.
Just imagine the situation if you like your mum or someone gets a phone call from you, and it's like, Mum, I need like £5,000, or whatever.
Yeah.
I haven't got this, and then you can take that fraud to a whole nother level. You can like clone the phone number. You can do all kinds of stuff. So
Don't get any ideas.
but it's just incredible because obviously the scam industries.
Well,
If-
you saw
if-
how many scam calls I got yesterday.
Yeah.
Just alone yesterday.
Yeah,
This is getting out of hand.
it will get worse and worse and worse and worse, and we're gonna have. It's
Yeah.
gonna be hard to like this idea of identity will become something we have to grapple with more and more.
Yeah.
Teachers also could lose obviously their positions in the classroom because if it can replicate it to, you said 80% principle, but I think it can get pretty close. I think it could seem almost as real
Yeah, I reckon it can get like low 90s probably.
Yeah. And I think that's all it needs to be. And plus, everyone can have a unique teaching experience. Imagine everyone could have their own, if you had like the VR things, you could have your own classroom experience. You can bring the tutor experience to everyone.
And incredibly personalised.
Yeah. And that's one of the problems with like the education system. It's made as a system, but not for...
It's made as a one size fits all.
Yeah.
And one size does not fit all.
Yeah. Exactly.
Unless it's gloves or a hat.
Exactly. And that's why we're in the industry.
Well, that's why we do this, so that we can personalise.
You have a strong belief that... What's your belief?
We are social creatures. We work off energy. Everything is energy. Like we work off of energy. Like you can tell if somebody's upset, but they look completely normal. You can tell they're not. So, I think that is something that an AI can't replicate. It can probably eventually kind of imitate it. Just like you have, I don't know, Google Gemini or Siri or something imitating like thought. You know, they're like, I don't know that one. Like that's someone's programmed that in, right? But you know it's not real. You know, you can feel that it's not real.
Or are you intellectualizing that? Because I don't think people know that it's not real.
What do you mean?
As in, people are actually quite simple in a sense, because they, if something has that behavior, right? Just imagine like you have one Earth and another Earth. This is a typical philosophy of mind experiment.
Okay.
So you've got one Earth, and people don't have minds on that Earth, but they do everything. They basically simulate our behavior on this. So there's zombie Earth with a prejay there existing in the world, and then you've got this Earth where you've got like thoughts and feelings and experiences. Yeah. Now, do you believe that it's possible to have a zombie Earth?
Yes.
Okay. So then what's going to be like, how's it going to be different? Like
the feelings.
But does it matter?
Depends which Earth you ask. You ask the zombie Earth, it won't matter.
But they will say like they can pretend it matters. They can pretend they've got feelings.
But that requires,
they can simulate
that requires thought.
No, not necessarily. Because if you can just simulate that, if all we are is like, well, if there's something extra to the idea of mind and our qualitative experiences, then does it really matter what goes on behind it? It's like, I can't tell whether you really feel anything. Like, logically, I can't tell.
Okay.
I'm just relying on the fact that I feel something, and I'm responding to your behavior in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that allows me to have empathy or empathize with your feelings.
Yeah, but that's very logical. I'm saying that you can pick up on other people's energies. When something is not right in a room, you can tell.
But
even without people's facial expressions or like not saying anything, you can pick up on bad energy.
But
I can. Anyway.
But it's non-verbal cues, which can be simulated.
No, I'm not talking about non-verbal cues. I'm talking about just, okay, even if you're blindfolded and you walk into a room, you could pick up there's something like a bad energy there.
Can you? I don't. All right.
Okay,
we'll do that at some point.
Experiment coming soon. I can. Yeah, I pick up on everyone's energies. But I mean, we're very different in that regard.
I don't think it is though. I think it's all non-verbal cues. I don't think if you went into a room blindfolded, I don't think you could pick up on the energy in the room. Because we haven't done that. We need to do that experiment.
Okay.
But
we're going to go find a group of unhappy people.
Yeah.
Put them in a room.
and then
walk in.
And then blindfold you and then walk you in and then see if you can tell what sort of room it is.
Room A, room B, and placebo room.
Yeah. Placebo room.
Room with no one in there.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So I don't think you would be able to tell.
Okay. I kind of want to prove that I can now.
When data scientists they're researching how AI understands stuff, all they can say is like it seems like it understands because of this and this and this, the behavior it exhibits, right?
Yeah.
But we cannot access how the AI feels or if it even feels. We can't.
I don't think it does.
No, but
It's a simulation of feeling. I guess we're going back into the
But
same.
you're just guessing that though. Like as in potentially it could be the case that with a certain amount of like if you're able to replicate a neural net like that's similar enough to a human, then potentially a consciousness could emerge. I don't think it's possible because I think this is the limit of silicon to some extent.
I agree.
But I couldn't logically conclude that. I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And I'd never know. Like if I had an AI that appeared completely conscious, appeared to have moral thought, appeared to have all of that, appeared to understand what I was saying, I wouldn't know that it understood, or I wouldn't know its actual feelings towards it. It's a black box.
We come from source, God, source, universe, whatever. Our consciousness comes from there. What we're essentially doing is playing God. We're creating these things.
But that's your assumption, like where consciousness comes from. Like it could arise from just organic connections. Like it could be epiphenomenal. So it arises out of just the stuff that we're made of, and that's the problem of mind.
But then we're all made of the same thing. We're all made of atoms. We're all made of like stardust or whatever.
So's an AI.
Yeah.
But you think that a consciousness arises in a stone?
No.
But what makes you think that? Why?
It hasn't told me. I don't know.
But
getting blood from a stone is a saying, right?
Yeah, but you can't tell. But to what extent could you tell that a stone is conscious versus a human? Like you're just relying on behavioural cues, aren't you?
That is behavioural cues, yeah. But everything has a vibration. Stones, tables, people, microphone, everything has a certain frequency.
Yeah, but so the stone is conscious.
Could be.
Yeah, silicon, whatever. An AI is therefore, from your perspective, is it more conscious than a stone or is it less conscious than a stone? Do you get what I'm?
Yeah. You can let us know. Tell us.
Do you think AI can become conscious?
Well, AI versus stone.
Yeah, AI versus stone.
That's the argument.
What's more conscious?
What's more conscious, a stone or AI? That's the question we're going to ask.
Remember what I was saying about like how like I don't think there's certain animals that I don't think are very conscious.
Like chickens.
Yeah, chickens aren't very conscious. They just flap around.
What animals? We're going very off topic. We'll come back round to teaching in a minute. I promise. Go on. What animals are? What animals are less conscious?
Cows.
Yeah.
Cows are so dumb.
The thing is, you're naming animals. There's a reason why we don't eat sentient beings.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
Well, no, a cow can, like, for instance, you shoot. All right, you go into a field, shoot a cow. Its mates will go. Okay, what's happening?
To be fair, I can imagine you doing the same thing, just being.
No, but like, as in, a human would react with like, I don't know, awe or horror or something like that. What's happened? Like
fight, flight, freeze.
Yeah.
But
cow
then
would
just stand there.
A cat. Yeah, there's like a Romanian saying. It's like a cow, cow looking at a fence or something like that. So, as in a new fence or something. I don't know.
Right.
Any Romanians?
Oh, that's the whole saying. Okay.
But it's just like it's a saying that means like it's barely conscious of what's going on. You don't know what's happening.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, like a cow is. it's really because it's kind of a big animal, so you'd expect it to have like maybe a bit more
Some level of
like pigs and dogs and other animals. They seem to have like some sort of connection to each other or stronger connection to each other. But then cows, I don't know. They're like, if you got any videos that disprove this or anything like that, then or anecdotes that disprove this, just let us know. Cow related anecdotes.
So I guess our thesis point of this conversation is, can AI truly, fully replace teachers? And we've picked up on some of the points in the conversation so far.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you say are the like pros and cons of each?
I suppose I'll start with pros because I think there's a lot.
Okay.
Reduce cost. I know David Game College is probably not a good example because
Well, I mean, it's like half the price of a lot of private schools.
Yeah.
So
it will obviously cost money because you have to equip students with VR headsets, that sort of thing. So there's an initial cost in setup.
I mean,
Programs.
you say that you can get Google Cardboard and put your phone in there.
Yeah.
That's like £10.
True, but I do think like to actually, the closer you can get to realism,
you'd have to buy. I mean, I doubt any school's going to buy, 30 Vision Pros.
No, but you can get a MetaQuest.
Yeah,
and it's good enough. Like, as in, it's pretty
for that particular
decent.
use case. MetaQuest would be fine.
It's comparable to the Vision. Like it's that diminishing returns thing that you get. So it's like so as you go up the price scale, you're not necessarily going to get, and schools have to balance that.
It begins to level off.
Yeah. So you got the cost savings. Imagine you could imagine you're a student. Suppose you've got an autistic kid in the class, probably gets on quite well with technology, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Probably likes that. Yeah. Like, feels at home. Usually you have to pay someone trained in Sen to deliver content to that child. But in this case, you can... so it sounds sort of unfair.
Put some goggles on him, that's a bit...
Yeah, and then, literally... You can give him a personalized experience and give him something that he actually wants to do, not deal with people, which is fair. Like, some people just don't want to. Like,
it doesn't mean I feel like they still should.
No, but like I don't necessarily agree. Like, some people need, like, get overwhelmed, overstimulated. They need actually something a bit like that to. So I can see it really improving how we approach, say, students with extra learning needs that can't be sort of facilitated. Imagine a school that has a very limited budget. Like, that's cheaper than employing someone. A lot cheaper and potentially maybe more effective. Certainly more scalable. Like, because you get a consistent product.
True. I don't know, the human element. Anyway, I'm sure that will come into the cons section.
Data processing, so like the fact that an AI can maybe take in, as long as you understand the data, and that's probably a con. It's like, do they really?
The interpretation of it, yeah.
If the data is interpreted correctly, then it can probably deliver a good lesson to the student, or at least you can imagine. Yeah. You remember when in The Simpsons, Bart does? I think there's an episode where he ends up gaming, like, and he learns through gaming. Like, he learns a lot of like maths concepts through. It's like a more recent episode.
It sounds more recent, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think I saw the whole episode, but it was like he was actually doing really well in school because they personalized his learning around the idea of gaming. So he was like learning maths. And I can see a lot of kids gravitating towards that a lot. Like, it's not a small number. Because they need that reward
The reward system, yeah.
reward system in place.
Gamify. Is there anything the Simpsons haven't done? Simpsons did it.
So certainly not. I think they've done most things. So if you want to look at the future, I think
Watch The Simpsons.
Basically, The Simpsons.
There's some mad stuff they've predicted.
I'm thinking the Trump thing.
Trump thing's one of them, yeah. There's loads. There's a whole other thing. Let's go on to the cons. Let's go on to some of the cons.
Cons, you have the personal. Well, you've got the danger that society as a whole, like this isn't just a teaching thing. If you can replace teachers, then I think a lot of things go. So you're going to have a massive shift in how the economy works, essentially, because you can't, like, if you lose 60-70% of jobs like that, like it pretty much will. I think teaching will be one of the last to go, though.
We've always said that
because it's so involved. There's a lot of things that are sort of, it's necessary to have a robotic element as well. So robotics and AI need to combine in a sort of close manner for for teachers to be fully replaced, I think.
Yeah. I just keep thinking of iRobot.
Like, think of all the things that teachers do. Like they take the kids out on like excursions, that sort of thing. You need to take it to quite a high level to, like, obviously you could hire someone cheap to do that and watch them in the playground, make sure that they're safe. Yeah. Robotics would need to sort of merge with AI, but I don't think it's that far off. A lot of people think it's really far off.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, like I said, it reminds me of iRobot a lot. I mean, for any of the kids that are watching, because we spoke about this, we've got a class on iRobot, haven't we, in year 6? And a lot of them don't know the film because we're just getting older. But it's a 2004 film with Will Smith. Yeah. And when you were talking about the human element and the consciousness thing, and he doesn't trust the robot, and the robot ends up being conscious. And
yeah. But how do we know that?
Yeah, we can't open this can of worms.
There's something called the Moravec's principle, which is a sort of robotics principle that anything that robots do easily. So, for instance, a robot could lift a 1-ton car or whatever.
Yeah.
With relative ease. Humans find hard to do. And then
anything a human,
and the inverse is true. So anything that a human can do easily, a robot finds it incredibly difficult, like carry an egg or something like that, or
walking. Like, just walking.
Yeah, and walking. Like, breaking an egg and with the right
level
strength,
of force,
and then cooking.
Yeah.
Although I've seen some scary things that show that they can do this.
Boston Dynamics, isn't it?
It's not, but there's a lot of robotics companies now that are.
So let's talk about this ethical side of things, because you mentioned about jobs, 70% of jobs. Yeah, let's discuss that. What? Because it seems to me like there will be a certain type of job available.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like coding, designing, like building, whatever, even robots build robots. So, I mean,
yeah.
But someone has to code those machines. Someone has to build those machines to begin with, right? So,
I
infrastructure and coding.
I think
would be.
I don't think so. I think coding's easier to replace than. I think teaching is harder to replace than coding, because
then they'll be able to. So the Mrs. Nerg, the 7 things that make something alive, biology.
Yeah.
And reproduction is one of them.
Mrs. Gren. Oh yeah, you've done it differently.
We did Mrs. Gren, they learned Mrs. Nerg.
Yeah.
I don't know why they changed it. Anyway. So they'll be able to replicate, reproduce. They've ticked off another one of those.
Well, like,
if they're coding themselves, then
I was thinking about, like, for instance, an AI prompter. Like, that was a job that people were saying that will merge out of. And I think like we've all become AI prompters in some sense.
Yeah, it learns back from us.
And think about like what coding is. It's the ability to talk to a computer and make it do things. Right?
Yeah,
Like
it's a language.
if you think about like those really old languages, they're basically you're starting talking to the computer in binary, then you're moving up the levels. You've got C++ and those kind of things, and then you start to get into things like Python. So things are becoming closer and closer to natural language, right? To what we use every day. And I think what Jensen Huang, the NVIDIA CEO, was saying recently, he said that, I think in a speech recently, he was like, it's our job to make it so everyone is a programmer. Everyone is. And what he means by that is eventually we'll just be able to create anything just by typing something in. I can just imagine in the future, like fairly soon in the future, there'll be websites where you can just go, I want this, create it for me, and it will do it. As long as you're I think you still need to be fairly specific, but it's like like ChatGPT or something like that will probably be able to go, I can do that for you on some level. So we're prompting a prompter to prompt a coder, a coding bot.
I wonder why Meta changed their name to Meta.
Yeah, I mean, so I think, yeah, essentially, it will be the case that I think this is a unique technological revolution, and it's not.
It's like the internet part 2. Essentially, it's the same level.
Yeah, I'd say it's even greater. It's because
it can be, yeah.
And I've always thought this, like, as in, I remember even when I was like 14, and I heard about the singularity.
Yeah.
The idea that you create something, like humans can create something that's able to replicate itself and create more and more, well, better and better versions of itself. So iterate, and eventually it can replace the thing that created it. And I do think that will play out.
That's where we're going.
Yeah, I do think it will play out, because I think the rate of improvement is pretty scary. Like the rate at which these things will improve.
It's exponential, isn't it? It's not linear.
And there's also, I thought I brought this up a little bit earlier, the idea of emergent abilities or emergent properties. So AI researchers, or people who create AIs in the first place and code them up, they know what they've put in, so they know what they've programmed in, but they don't know necessarily all the things that it could do, because as the AI learns and builds a model of the world in which it exists, it can learn more and more things, it can then do more and more things, and we might be surprised at where that goes. Like we don't know what it could eventually do. And abilities will emerge from the AI that we don't even know are possible. So what we're talking about now, or what we believe will happen, is just a projection. But I think it will exceed expectations. And I think it's one of the few times when, like, generally I'm very sort of skeptical about where something will go. But I think in this case, I've always believed it. Like, even when I was very young, I knew this would come. I just knew it. And it's playing out as I predict.
Yeah, it's scary. Very scary.
So I think by like 2030, it'll be further along than you'd think. Already in cities like San Francisco, you've got autonomous
delivery stuff.
I mean, they're not amazingly good, but they'll improve. And you think about like the biggest industry in the US is delivery and freight, driving, essentially. If that's displaced, then that's a huge shift in economically, and we have to adjust to that. We have to plan for that. Otherwise, we're going to be in really big trouble, like as a society.
It won't stop because it won't stop. Like if one company does it or begins working on it, the company that doesn't will go out of business.
Yeah,
I think the Google CEO said this. It's like we have to work on it because
you can see it. You can see it in how they're buying up Nvidia GPUs like.
Well, they've got the market share. They're the only.
It's a race. It's a race.
Then there's no one else to.
Yeah, whoever wins that race,
Well, it looks like Nvidia. There's no one else that's providing.
Well,
those chips.
like Nvidia, I think of as the shovels.
What?
They're the shovels,
Right.
but there's like actually the people who create the AI will. Like Nvidia provides the platform,
the hardware,
the platform, but I think the real winner will be the software company. But it will also be this almost, it will be quite a difficult race, and it will be very capital intensive.
And there's only a few players that can play that game.
Yeah, exactly.
And we know who they are.
But you never know, because as people, if things become more and more open source, so like Meta have started their Llama projects and it's open source and it's already sort of exhibiting a lot of quite high level abilities, like to the extent that it might actually overtake something like chat. If that becomes more open source, more people are able to play with it, some teenager will come up with something, some whiz kid somewhere.
Yeah.
We've kind of opened the box. Was it Pandora's
box? Yeah. I think we said this in the last episode. We said like the cat's out of the bag. It's you can't push it back in.
So it's not just a teacher thing, obviously, but I do think it will happen. I do think that AI and robotics will merge at some point, because like AI will solve a lot of those robotics problems. But like, for instance, the like dexterity and doing that, and I mean, like, it's a robot. You can give it like 8 hands, 8 different. It would become like the Matrix.
Yeah,
basically. I'm just imagining those like crazy creations from the Matrix. That will be what will happen, and then you'll have and then we'll have to reroute the whole economy. But we'll have to think of a new way to keep humans existing and alive. But it will be quite hard, quite challenging. And I think a lot of places will just fail. Like, they're not going to be able to keep up with this rate. I'm thinking the UK will struggle quite a lot because we're not really future thinking. We're not really futuristic. We don't think in that way. A lot of younger cities will do better because they'll know.
You'll be there from the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, they'll have that sort of mindset. They'll make it futuristic. They'll set up their economy in a way that will
work. Best of all this stuff. Yeah.
But I think in the UK we've got to get our act together like quickly, and start thinking about things like UBI, so universal basic income, because it will displace people. Like it would certainly people like editors.
Sorry, Andrew.
But like, even it will go further than that because of the fact that it's generative. So it will, like, the fact
I've seen it already. I've seen it.
At the moment, it's rubbish. But
yeah, but it been deep fakes were rubbish 2 years ago as well. Look at them now. Like, things move quickly. That's why we're doing this again.
And there's huge economic incentive behind it. This is the thing. It's like a lot of things are aligning. It's not just we're on that curve. It's that there's people willing to put serious investment behind it, and ultimately that will play out in the way that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't. I don't think it necessarily has to be dystopian, because if you think about Keynes, like John Maynard or Keynes, Keynesian economist, he kind of envisioned a world where like automations became possible, like a long time ago. He was thinking that as people, surely in the future, people should work less and less and less. Unfortunately, it's happened the other way. Like a lot of people are working longer than ever and more hours. But I do think that AI presents an opportunity in that way. Like we can have more leisure time, like have a lot more leisure time because we won't be needed as much.
Yeah, but it's the income, isn't it? People will still need income.
I think it's not just it's income related. That's one thing, and that's to do with rerouting or redesigning how the economic system works. And I think it will happen at some point. But it's also about mental health. I think that's a massive thing because if you take away people's value, a lot of people associate their value with work, like rightly or wrongly. Yeah. But people need to feel needed. We've seen like huge increases in terms of, well, suicide amongst men and women. And you're seeing it rise quickly with women, actually. But we know the men thing's been going on for a while, but it's increased quite a lot.
Yeah. 18 to 40, isn't it?
Yeah.
70% of.
Yeah. And the reason why you'd delete yourself is essentially because of
its value. Yeah.
Yeah. You feel useless.
It was less with women because they have intrinsic value in the world because they can have children.
Yeah.
And men need to get their value from providing.
Yeah.
And if they've got no one to provide to or nothing to provide, no company to provide for, then their purpose doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to exist to them.
Doesn't seem to, yeah.
And we've done a poor job of saying, you've got worth. Like you're in this world, you do have some intrinsic worth. And that's really the message that you need to sort of somehow get across to men and people, humanity across the world. Like even in this world where you don't have, necessarily a job, something to do, something productive, you still have some worth. You still have worth somewhere. And that's going to be the hardest.
It's the hardest ethical barrier to fix.
I think it's a practical and ethical issue. I don't know. Maybe the AI
can figure it out for us.
The AI will probably come up with some sort of solution or be able to help us, but in that regard. But yeah, I do think we'll replace everything. It won't happen. It might not happen super quickly with certain careers, paths, and that kind of thing. I think if you're like going into trades and stuff like that, it will be a while because of you need that intersection between robotics and AI. That will take a long time and it will cost a lot initially for a robot able to do that. So you've got some sort of bargaining power there. So a lot of people going into those industries will do okay, but I actually think that things that we've considered traditionally to be good careers or whatever, things like coding, that will become less important. We've mentioned some stats so far and some interesting facts, but here are some more that I found particularly interesting. So there was a study, a study.com survey, which revealed that 89% of students admitted to using ChatGPT for homework.
I'm surprised it's that low, actually.
Well, those are the ones who admitted to it.
So the other 11% lied. Okay.
Basically. And incidents have arisen when students are wrongly accused of AI.
I was talking about this yesterday with one of the students. They can reverse engineer it. You can paste it in and say to the AI, was this you? Did you create this or whatever?
Yeah.
Because it can look up backwards, can't it? It doesn't just generate stuff. You can say, this is what I've got. Is this from your language model?
Yeah.
And you'll be able to find out very easily.
But then sometimes you think I don't know, or yeah.
Yeah, you do sometimes write like an AI.
70% of educators believe that the use of AI in assignments constitutes plagiarism. But interestingly enough, teachers use ChatGPT more than students.
Yeah.
So I feel there's some, bit hypocritical.
Kind of, but then what are the teachers using it for? Are they like, create me 20 questions of dividing fractions with mixed numbers?
Yeah.
Because that's probably fine.
Yeah.
It's not like they don't know how to do those questions themselves.
But then if you create a tool, students will use it. It's naturally how it will go. But you were like, it's not too much of a problem. People should learn how to use it. And then...
What do you mean?
Because I remember we were talking about it with Georgia, and you were like, "Oh, students should be taught how to use it," and then.
Well, the people that don't use this stuff will fall behind.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in school you want to actually broaden your mind and whatever else, but I guarantee the people that did use it probably had better grades. So, like, it shows the people that use it as a tool will go further than the people that don't use it.
Yeah, it's a bit like they did that experiment with coders, and they had like different groups. So high level coders using AI, high level coders not using AI, not very good coders using AI, and then
not very good coders not using
AI.
AI.
Something like that. And I think the ones, obviously the high level coders using AI, blew everyone out of the water by a long way.
Yeah. And I'm sure the low level people using AI did better than the people that didn't, because obviously.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Okay.
And then Quizlet, so it's quite a good, handy, nice little website where you can make flashcards, that sort of thing. They revealed the top ways educators use AI. So you've got research, 44%, creating lesson plans, 38%, summarizing information, 38%. Does that add up? What? I don't know.
Well, it's not going to add up.
Yeah,
they're three different surveys.
And then generating classroom materials like tests and assignments, 37%. I think that will increase. Like you can see as well, like over time it will increase. People will use AI more and more as it becomes better, and people know about it.
So that's basically saying almost 40%. On all across the board, right? What was the first number?
So 44 for lesson plans. Yeah.
So that shows
research. Yeah. 38 for lesson plans.
Yes, so 38, 37. So yeah.
Yeah, about 40%, and I think it will rise to like 70, and then you'll have to use it basically. It will be brought into the university curriculum for PGCEs and that sort of thing, and then teachers will just be using it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, none of it's surprising.
No.
It's not surprising. We use it all the time.
Yeah. Like, sometimes it really, really helps you start off an idea.
It's it's definitely a good starting point. We use it quite a lot. Yeah. And not just for we don't really use it that much for creating questions, but it's more like...
It's got better at doing that though.
Yeah, I used it on Monday, but you've got to prompt it correctly. I was like, can you give me 10 multiplying fractions questions that need cancelling down for a year 7 student?
Did it do it?
Yeah. I gave it to the year 5.
The mathematical models are getting better as well. So
yeah, you could see it, type it out in code, like the weird bracket / and then the graphics came in and it was like they all popped up as things that look like fractions.
It did in latex.
In latex, but very, very small. But yeah, it worked. So basically we think that AI is going to be a tool, and we think differently actually, don't we? I think that it will be a tool and it can't replace a human person. It can't replace the emotions, Yeah. If a kid falls over and is crying, the robot's not going to be like...
I think it can.
Not
in the...
It needs paternal, maternal, it needs that human element.
I think it'll go through stages. Like this is the first wave of AI. Think about it that way. So
the question is, do you eventually think it will fully replace teachers?
Yeah, I think it will replace everything. I don't think there's
I think what will
sphere.
happen, as you've probably seen with Zoom calls and this sort of stuff, I think it will attempt to replace everything, and then everyone's going to be like, "This is horrible. I want to go back to the office and see people again." People are the other
No.
thing. I think if you look at what's happened with COVID and the Zoom calls and everyone working from home, people are desperate to get out again and get back in the office.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people want remote jobs.
They want, not fully, they want 2 or
They
3
want a
days
bit
in the
of
office.
hybrid work.
This is the thing, it'll be hybrid, yeah. I think eventually it will be
They want
hybrid.
it. What people want, I don't think will matter in the long term, because the fact is there's money in it, and I think those corporate interests will push for it, and it'll drive economies of scale in education like nothing else.
Yeah,
If you look at,
but then people like us will probably
yeah,
get more people, will get more students because they
in the short term, but
the people that don't want to be taught by robots, that's
in the short, yeah, but then like those businesses that use people will just become unprofitable or less profitable than they could be. So like the wise thing is to adopt AI solutions. So profit will ultimately determine,
it always comes back to that, doesn't it?
yeah, it will determine where the direction of travel goes. And I think you're underestimating how far it can take
No.
things.
I know how far it can take things. I think you're underestimating this human element is way more important than you think it is.
I'd agree. It's very important, but I think it can be simulated too. And I think it can almost. It's like you've seen it in relationships as well. It's not just like more and more people have AI girlfriends, that sort of thing. Like
Yeah, but it's not real.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like it doesn't.
I don't
matter.
think we're gonna.
It's real enough.
I don't think we're going to agree on this. I don't know which side. Let us know which side you stand on. Whether you stand on John's side or my side, or you're like somewhere in between. If you want to watch the last episode we did on AI, you can click up here if you're watching us on YouTube. If you are watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the whole cow conversation that we had. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple, don't forget to give us a follow and a rating. That would be really useful. And we'll see you again next month.
The Education Lounge Podcast.